When there's a trauma, whether it's one or a one-off or it's chronic, the effects from it get bigger. And that means maybe a lack of confidence, maybe that self-loathing, maybe you're your own bully. You don't need a bully, you're your own. If you don't hold on to the equity of your own love, how do you allow someone else in so that you can love them or they can love you? Sexual grief, the sexual grief effect, is a natural response to a sexually traumatic predatory event or a sexually traumatic developmental experience that both leave its recipients feeling as if they're held hostage. The sexual grief effect is a shapeshifter, and it will show up in different ways at different times for different people. And the culmination is you start with self-loathing, and what I teach is a form of liberation that then gets to self-love.
When I consider self-loathing, I mean, I see that this is so many people though, Edie.
Yeah,
like this is the majority of people walking around, not just not loving themselves, they don't even like themselves. And so what are you seeing in our society today, in our world today, that are direct hindrances and blocks, obstacles for healthy sexual selves?
When someone has been involved in a predatory event or a developmental experience that are sexually traumatic in nature, they fit the definition of what freed hostages experience, which is the self-loathing, regret, guilt, much shame, a dysregulation within the body and the mind and the spirit, and that sense of true loathing. I mean, loathing on steroids. And so, one of the things that I think I love, and I love to teach people, but I think it helps people to have a handle on something that they've wanted to deny, is first to get out of denial. Well, how do you get out of denial? Curiosity. And so becoming a hostage negotiator when someone is held hostage by the sexual grief effect is really my way of helping people find their voice, get in touch with their bodies. That curiosity is about, okay, so what's going on here? Why am I losing my mind? Why do I feel so such chaos in my brain right now? How come I'm not finding words when I usually do? How come my body feels like I call it the guillotine effect? How come I don't feel like I'm connected? And so to begin to ask those questions, and you're asking it of the hostage taker, which is the sexual grief effect. And so what do I think are the first things to do to ask those questions? And sometimes you can ask those questions on your own, but sometimes you need a guide. And sometimes those guides come in the form of therapists or, people who are, in a world of spirituality, or whatever you feel safest with or with whom.
Having a format, having a way in which things can start to move is our movement towards life, I think, and being able to reclaim our lives back.
Yeah. And that's what this is. When you can accurately label something, an experience or an event that has gone on, whether it's developmental or it's predatory, and you've actually got a name for it, all of a sudden, everything else makes sense.
It's a way to organize things, right?
That's it.
You're taking something that feels chaotic and all over the place and fractured, and you're just by able to have labels, you're able to bring some order to it. And then we can start to understand, maybe bring more cohesiveness around the order that we've been able to establish.
That's right. Not just how we get affected by what happened in our past and how that frames us, but how we become the rearrangers of those frames. And that's when we become the hostage negotiator. Because that picture can hold me, and those comments can hold you and frame you and keep you stuck. And for sure, they kept me stuck for a long time until they didn't. And it was the realization that it wasn't going to be about who's going to help me. It was going to be, how am I going to help myself and teach someone perhaps how I need to be helped. But it's a very fine line.